We are a channel that appreciates its viewers. We give our utmost effort for the best quality content, and we even push for the highest quality effort when it comes to how we look for you on screen.
Hi. When I need my skin to look its absolute best when I'm blowing the heads off zombies, I set my ring light to 4700K. Because I care. Maybe he's born with it.
Join our community. Join a channel that loves its viewers. Join this channel because we care.
I had my, oh my goodness, I'm doing everything wrong today. What's going on, Robin? How you doing? All right. As you can see, it is myself and the boy Wonder right now. Miss Aubrey, who is covering for Mr. Jon, is going to be in here soon. She got caught in some traffic, so she is going to be jumping in a little bit later. How is everybody doing in internet land tonight? I'm wearing my brand new They Mostly Pod Out at Night mostly shirt. I just got in from one of our sister podcasts. What is going on, Jon? Our host, our man, is not feeling too well. Hopefully we will have him back in the chair soon enough. But until we do, we still have incredible shows for you. We keep cranking them out. This is show number 21. And tonight we're going to be talking about body dysmorphic disorder. And now this may be something that, you've heard about before. But maybe have not gotten a real clear definition on what it is. So let's see if I can get us a definition here. I'm waiting for it to pop up on my screen over here so I can read it without. There we go. Okay. Let me turn off one more thing real quick to make this easier for me to read. Usually we have one of the other people with better eyesight here. All right, body dysmorphic disorder, or a body dysmorphia, is a mental condition where a person spends a lot of time worrying about the flaws in their appearance, and these flaws are often unnoticeable by others. So one thing that you definitely want to make clear is people who deal with body dysmorphic disorder, that was my fault, sorry. People that deal with body dysmorphic disorder are not narcissists. They spend a lot of time thinking about themselves, but they're not like conceited people. They're not thinking about themselves because they think they're better than other people or they think they're more beautiful. In fact, it's almost 100% completely opposite. They spend anywhere from 8 to 10 or 3 to 8 hours a day. I think that is the minimum that needs to be classified for this. But they can spend anywhere from 3 to 8 hours a day thinking about little things about themselves that may be completely inconceivable to anybody else. They may see, maybe they have a little scar on their face. from an accident that happened in childhood. But to them, in their mind, this scar might be the only thing anybody else notices. Yeah, just like Jon says, they are not full of themselves. In fact, a lot of times, one of the facts that I read is that they spend a lot of time in depression and isolation because of the fact that they're so worried about these perceived flaws that they have. And this week we weren't able to find a lot of video clips in popular media or movies, which was something that was actually surprising to me. I actually thought we would find a lot more on this, but we were able to find a bunch of video clips, and actually we have more than typical. We have 5 clips for you tonight, and I'm going to roll a couple of those now, and this will also give Aubrey a chance to get in. So, oh my goodness, speak of the devil and she shall appear. Look at that. Boom! The captain has appeared.
The captain has appeared. Hi guys, how are you? Good.
It is good to see you here. This is a tough one at that. We just got started. Yes. We just did the definition card and started talking about what this was. And actually, I was just about to roll into a couple of these clips to let people get an idea of what we're talking about. So that'll give you a minute to get settled in there. We're probably going to roll a couple clips in a row.
No, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Wow. Hey, do me a favor. When you're not speaking, can you put your mic on mute?
Yes, I can. Sorry.
No problem. There's a lot of background noise happening.
I was gonna put it on here, but make it easier.
Whatever's clever. So yeah, that was really powerful. That was a small little clip from a video called Likeness. It was not like a big major movie or anything right there, but I think even in that you could really get the sense of how she felt. She looked different than what she actually was, to the point that it made her nauseous. She threw up at the end of that whole thing. That was another fact that I did read, was a lot of people with body dysmorphia, sometimes they'll pick at their skin. Maybe they'll have a small little pimple, but for them, that little pimple is all they can think about. And they'll pick at their skin, and so they may have like little craters or other things.
Yes.
Another interesting fact that I read was that body dysmorphia is very closely related to and in the same category. Hey, Frey, what's up, Frey? In the same category as obsessive compulsive disorder.
That I didn't know. I didn't know that, but I have body dysmorphia. So yeah, it is something. This is actually something I do have. I do have it. So
is it something you're comfortable talking about, or?
It's interesting because people don't understand it, and I realized it a few years ago actually, and it's not formally diagnosed, but I have all the symptoms because I had to look
Right.
it up and understand what it was. But I have all the symptoms. I don't I see myself in a very distorted way when I look in the
Right.
mirror, and the whole thing like pimples, to me they're like, to me that's all I see when I look in the mirror, and people are like, I can't even see them, it's fine, like
Right.
they don't really appear, and to me they're like huge. I mean, it's I literally don't see myself the way other people see me.
Right. And and I find this very, very interesting because you would think now, and another thing that they wanted to make clear was there is a very distinct difference between body dysmorphia and just not liking something about your body, right?
Right, right.
Like I got a lot of extra pounds. I do not like it at all. Obviously I wish I could be a lot skinnier, but it's
Right.
not something that takes up all of my thought all of
Yeah.
day to where I can't even go to my job because I think
Yes.
I'm too fat to leave the house, or it's not something that is controlling myself. So to me,
That's what happens to me.
right.
Especially
And
if I don't work out or anything, like start working regularly, I start seeing myself as vastly more overweight than I am.
wow.
And
And so
I tend
what
to
does
see
this do to you?
causes a lot of depression for me. It can get to the point if I don't take like precautions of like for my mental health, it does start to actually affect the way I think about myself and
Right.
the way I see myself. That was super triggering watching for me.
Wow.
Actually, that was very, very, very triggering to watch because that
Well
is
then,
literally how I see myself sometimes.
I do want to apologize. Then this is probably something, and this is something that we need to think about going forward, and be a little more attentive to. But I do apologize for not giving people a trigger warning. I apologize, mainly. And here's the thing: I don't deal with this, so I don't know that it might trigger other people, right?
Yeah, it's
So
really
I do
interesting because some people
apologize.
think, yeah, because some people, there are some people out there that are like, oh, like watching, like trigger word, eating disorders, because it actually is something that's very aligned with eating disorders.
Right,
That is
right,
something that's also another thing with it is that it's a symptom. It's not necessarily that it's a part of the body dysmorphia, but people who have body dysmorphia also generally have an eating disorder or disordered eating, which
right.
is, I don't have an eating disorder, but I have disordered eating, or at least I used to when I
And
was
it
younger.
doesn't always have
And
to be
and they're
exclusively
not
linked
always exclusive.
together.
Right.
But
Not always.
a lot of times we've talked about in the past comorbidities.
Yes, the
So
comorbidity of
we talked about this being possibly linked to eating
it. Mhm.
disorders. It's
Yep.
definitely linked to OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders. I want to show
I
another
mean,
little video.
this is also why if you see that I'm like constantly like, you know, like my hair and everything, it's because during shows or stuff, it's because I have a really hard time watching myself as it
Right,
is. And so it is something I do so that I can see myself in a certain way because I don't see myself in the same way that you guys see me. And
right, right. This
it's
is almost
difficult for
like your
me.
own personal form of therapy.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, it's also really triggering.
But you work through it. You do it at least 3-4 nights a week.
Yeah, where I have to watch myself constantly move and do stuff. Yeah. That's why I'm also like I don't really look at myself when I'm doing it. Usually I'll try to look at everyone else. But I mean I still do it. It's still one of those things that you just do
Right,
as
right.
someone who has
Well,
it. It's gotten better. I'm not saying that it's like something I don't take medication for it or anything, but it is a big problem that
wow.
that you have to do that with. I don't have OCD, at least. I don't have that part of the disorder.
Right.
My sister has OCD though, and it's really interesting.
I
Uh,
wanted to bring up Frey actually said here, and I was gonna ask, I try not to get too personal on this show unless people bring things up. If somebody brings up that they have a disorder, I don't mind talking about it because they were the one to bring it up. But if they don't bring it up, I don't feel comfortable saying, "Oh, by the way, do you?" You know what I mean? However, I do want to state Frey had made a couple of comments. she made a comment way back here that caught my attention. And then the second comment she made kind of confirmed it for me. The first comment she made was, she said, we really don't see things the way others see. And if we have a distorted view, it's really hard to change.
Yes.
The fact that she said we made me think that this was something she was dealing with. And then
Frey.
down here, Frey says, I actually have avoided mirrors in the past because it was really bad for me when I was younger. And so
yeah, it didn't help. And it also didn't help because when I was living with my mom when I was a teenager, because I was much more I weighed a lot more when I was younger, much younger teenager and stuff. And it didn't help because it actually was compounded by my mom would make comments, and I love her, but we all have our toxic moments, but my mom would make comments about it, and all my sisters were also very thin. And so it actually it compiled itself on because I already had the disorder at that time. I mean, a lot of women actually will. I love you too, Frey. A lot of women will get that kind of distorted. Most women, because we're told that we need to look a certain way, do that a certain way. There is that society pressures already. But if you have it, it's even harder. It's even more likely you'll get it if you have that added component. If you have that added component. And yes, exactly. Mom trying to be more helpful was actually making it even worse.
right.
And so it's that, compounding issue of because if I didn't have it already, it would have been even, it was
being
more likely
implanted.
getting it. Yes, it was already being even more implanted from it as a teenager. So it was like, and because she also dealt with it. She dealt with it too. She saw this. She had, because we talked about as an adult, and she has similar things too. She has that kind of bad body image already.
There's so many things that we do, and I can see. And again, I don't deal with body dysmorphic disorder, so I don't want to minimize anything. So if I say something offensive, believe me that I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to understand this as an outsider, because I grew up in a house, like, when I was Vietnamese, obviously I'm overweight, but my mom was always, there's always the joke about the Asian moms that are always eat more, and they're like, oh my God, look how fat you're getting, right? So like they have no problem telling you how fat you're getting, but at the same time they want you to eat more. Now,
the problem is, I think, with that is also her projecting her own feelings onto you.
Well, no, hold on. So I understand completely, especially with a lot of first generation Asians. When my mom grew up, she had 11 brothers and sisters, and they were hungry all the time. And so when she got here, a lot of Asians, especially first generation Asians, because they have dealt with hunger growing up, their kids, they overwhelm them with food because they don't want their children to ever have to experience, the hungry nights that they had to experience maybe as they were growing up. So it's part of a cultural thing as well. But I do want to say, I think, and this show really is making it aware for me, because I think so many times we say things in our language and we don't really think about how they affect the people around us, right? So I remember this one particular time I was at my boy's house, and his wife was like getting ready to go out to the club or something like that, and she was checking herself out in the mirror. She was like, oh my God, I'm getting so fat, look at that, blah blah blah. And then he just like exploded on her. He was like, don't you do that in front of my daughter. And he's like, my daughter is sitting here listening to you talk about, he's like, you look absolutely fine, there is nothing wrong with you, but the more and more you make these negative comments, you're putting this into our daughter's head about how she needs to look a certain way or dress a certain way. And it was kind of a mind opener for me, because I was like, oh wow, go ahead.
My mom and I I'm still trying to have that conversation to get her to understand that the comment she says really has an effect. Like she told me this summer that I was getting too thin. She's like, oh, you're getting to be you're just way too thin now, and it's unhealthy. And it's like, wait a second, I feel this is the best I've felt in my life.
Right.
Like at the time. And it really actually caused a lot of internal distress in me. And it actually, like, because it was really hard, because it's like, wait, first I'm too overweight, now I'm too thin. Wait, I don't understand. Like,
Right. Is it
and
even possible? Is there a
and me
correct?
trying to tell her, yeah, and it's like, okay, when is this? When are you going to be happy with how I look? And it's like, Mom, just don't put that on me. Like, that's not even fair. And she's done this before. It sucks.
Can I just say I love the conversation that's happening on the boards right now. Looks like Jon and Frey are really having a good conversation.
Yeah.
But Frey says, yeah, so my mom is such a wonderful person and one of my best friends. She didn't understand, and we talked about it once I was an adult. She avoids trigger topics now. That's so important, and that's
It's so important.
so good.
I'm still
that you
getting
have
to that place with my mom. Yeah, I'm still getting there. No, she's one of my closest people too. She's wonderful. She just has these parts, and some of them are just projections on of herself too. So it is a process, and it's really difficult. You guys are just having. I just love this conversation you guys are having in the chat. I'm just
I
watching
love
it. Like,
our
so
community. We are
amazing.
very fortunate at Kyber K Productions to have a fantastic community, a very loving people who are non-judgmental and are accepting of each other. I want to roll again. This week we have some weeks we're scrounging for clips, but this week we have 5 clips. So I want to go ahead and get to a couple more of these. Now, I want to give a real quick trigger warning. This is another kind of video clip that is more artistic, meaning it's not meant to tell you direct facts. It's more to show you kind of the experience of what somebody may deal with.
Okay.
So the other 3 pieces that we have after that are more scientifically based. So they're not like movie or interpretations or anything. But I do want to give that trigger warning here. We're going to go into this clip, and then I think I would like to go right into another clip right behind it before we get into more discussion.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Wow. You can see how she was just like it's like she could see through her own clothing. Is your mic off right now? Aubrey?
Yeah, it was. Sorry. I thought you wanted to go right into another one for a discussion about it. But yeah,
Yeah,
that is literally what happens to me when I
right,
look in the mirror. That's
right.
that's like a literal represent. That's what I was like, oh God, this is so awful, because that's literally what happens to me.
Right. All right. So yeah, I am going to go right into this, and then again, this one's a little more clinical. 5 signs of body dysmorphia. Here we go.
Hey Psych2Goers. Body dysmorphic disorder is a type of obsessive compulsive disorder that focuses on the body and is characterized by cognitive symptoms such as perceived flaws in physical appearance. For some people, there may be certain parts of their body that they're embarrassed or ashamed about, to the point that it causes them great anxiety and distress. Here are 5 points that may indicate that you have body dysmorphia. Number 1, you have frequent critical thoughts about your physical appearance when it's not noticeable by others. Have you ever spent countless hours telling yourself that you're not good looking or attractive? The first sign of body dysmorphic disorder is an obsession with perceived flaws in physical appearance when it's not observable to others. Despite your friends not noticing anything wrong and doctors telling you that everything looks all right, you may still see some parts of your body as deformed or ugly. Number 2, you perform repetitive behaviors or mental acts. Do you spend an unusually long amount of time looking at yourself in the mirror because you worry about your appearance? Another sign of body dysmorphia is spending an excessive amount of time looking into mirrors, surfaces, or cameras to check on these perceived flaws. These negative thoughts about your physical appearance may manifest themselves into a repetitive need to compulsively check on how you look or to compare your body image to others. Number 3, your obsessions and compulsions cause you significant distress. Has the anxiety about your body image started to impact other areas of your life? Maybe the distress you feel distracts you from doing your schoolwork to the point of lowering your grades, or you've stopped going into work on time. A key feature that determines whether a behavior is diagnosed as a mental disorder is when the behavior starts to significantly distress or impair different areas of your life. It's a sign if these obsessions and compulsions prevent you from spending time with your friends or family, or when it stops you from going to work. Number 4, you think that other people mock you for how you look. Do you think other people are judging you for how you look when you're out? While this is not a diagnostic criterion of body dysmorphic disorder, it is common in people with the disorder. The thought that others take notice of your appearance and mock you for how you look even without any evidence is called a delusion of reference, and it could lead to feelings of intense distress. And number 5, you do not meet the criteria for an eating disorder. Do you suffer from an eating disorder? In order to be diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder, you cannot meet the criteria for any eating disorder, which includes anorexia, binge eating disorder, and others. As emphasized earlier, people with body dysmorphic disorder have perceived physical flaws. That is, they think they look terrible when it's objectively not the case to others. This preoccupation with their appearance may make it feel as if their self-worth is completely dependent on how they look. Do you know someone who might be suffering from body dysmorphia? How many of these signs sound familiar to you? Tell us about it in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it with others. Don't forget to subscribe to Psych2Go and hit the notification bell icon for more content. All the references used are also added.
Okay, sorry. We have more of that information down below for people that needed that. What did you think, Aubrey? What did you? I mean, that the 5 signs.
I felt all those 5 signs. I have all of them. I have disordered eating, but I don't have an eating disorder. But yeah, so it is. It's absolutely, like, right now I'm like digging into my hands because that's perceived as having an issue.
Right.
But that is, yeah, that's this is super triggering for me. Sorry. Like, I warned you I'd probably get a little triggered doing this episode just because this is actually something I do battle with, and it is something that's really hard.
You know, when I think I was the one that brought this one up for this week. And when I did it because I was trying to think of, because we'd hit a batch of like ones that were hard to find media. So I was like, oh my God, there's got to be a ton of stuff out there, like in the popular media. But I was actually really surprised at how little there was. I wasn't able to find any mainstream movies or TV shows that dealt with this. And I actually was honestly hugely surprised that there wasn't more attention brought to this.
There's one thing that I mean, I guess it's not, but I have seen a lot of people that have body dysmorphia that also do have eating disorders.
Right.
I think it's a comorbidity. I don't necessarily agree that they just shouldn't have any type of other disorder,
Right.
because I actually think that having an eating disorder is a symptom of BDD. I actually do think that, because it's the idea that you're seeing yourself as being this bigger person, and that people that have anorexia also still see themselves as a bigger person,
Right.
which is one of the symptoms of having it. It's not just, I mean, I still have that too, but it's not just that. It's like the big thing is I literally see myself as a bigger person
Right.
in the mirror when I'm not actively doing something to counteract it. And that is
Right.
something that, and it's like people go, well, how do you know that you're not, it's not, and it's different than having the disorder itself, but I think they're partially two separate things. But I have physical weight, but I still, and I don't have a eating disorder. I'm actually not, I don't have like a actual diagnosable eating disorder. I don't starve myself. I don't binge eat, and I don't throw up. I've never had those things, but I still have the worry. I still see myself in that way, and I still have the worry that there's an obsessive compulsive, like I'm worried that I will get that disorder as well.
Right.
But I
Right.
still have it as it's still something that's in my mind, and I can see people that have BDD also pick up anorexia or bulimia, because that's part of the problem, is that they see themselves as that distorted image. So they're like, I have to do something about it. So, I mean, there's, it's that give and take. I'm not saying I'm not saying everyone who has BDD has that, because it manifests in different ways.
Right. And anorexia is definitely a different topic that we could do for a different night. And that's the thing with a lot of these diseases and a lot of these issues that we run into. They are so similar, and they're going to be attached and related to something else that we've already talked about or dealt with. Especially, we're 21 shows in, and we're already getting into areas where it's, we can pull back on
Mhm.
other shows and say, remember when we talked about that? That is part of this here.
My mom had bulimia for a long time. I'm sorry to air her dirty laundry on here, but when she was much younger, when she was my age, she, and much younger than me, in her early 20s, she actually had bulimia. And she started when she was a teenager, and it was because she was so worried about getting big. But I mean, I think to a degree, she also has the BDD. It just manifested itself into the eating disorder. And I think the reason why I never went to the stage of an eating disorder was because I sang, and I was obsessively worried that I would fuck up my voice with it. And so that I never got to that point of having bulimia nervosa. But I obsessively like looked at it. I read about it. I did all of that stuff because I did not want to get it. But it still didn't change the way I saw myself with any of that. So, I mean, because you can fall into having an eating disorder, but it still does not change how you see yourself regardless, which is until you take active steps to make it so you can look at yourself and be like, okay, I know this isn't real. I know this isn't a real look of how I can see myself. And there are steps to treating it. Like, it could start out little, of like saying, hey, you're beautiful, looking in the mirror and being like, I'm beautiful just the way I am. I'm this, I'm that. That actually helped me, but I also exercise regularly. I also make sure I eat healthy, which they are actually saying that there is an obsessive component there's a healthy eating disorder. Healthy,
Right.
it's like health. You're obsessed with eating healthy to the point where it can almost be detrimental to you. That is but yes, positive reinforcement does absolutely help with body dysmorphia.
Well, this is something, and I want to bring. John made a comment way back that I want to bring back, but he said, Aubrey, by the way, I hope you don't mind. You are beautiful, and I love your voice.
Thank you.
I think what is interesting, you know, like anybody could look at you and say that you were an attractive woman, but I think when we hear about this, it's usually the people that you wouldn't think, right? Like the people that, like from the outside, like, oh man, that person looks really good, and they must, get all the guys or girls or whatever. You know, the people that you wouldn't think had a problem with this seem to be the ones that have the biggest challenge when you find out about it.
Oh yeah, my friends that I lived with for a long time, for over 5 years, they didn't understand. They're like, I don't get, you're in a really healthy shape. You're, that you don't look that way. And why do you say these negative things about yourself?
Right.
And it's like, and I had to explain, I said, look, it has nothing to do with actually is happening. It's literally how I see myself. I see myself as a big person.
Right.
And I'm not saying that in a vain sort of way. I mean, I pick apart every little piece of myself because that's what I'm seeing in the mirror when I look, and it's not anything that is, it's not something I'm controlling. I'm not saying it just to get positive reinforcement. I'm not fishing for compliments. This is just something I battle with every day.
Right. Right.
So it's really hard.
Right. And it is a mental illness, and it usually does stem back from specific things that have happened to us. I want
childhood trauma.
We have a couple more. We have 2 more clips, and amazingly, this we're already at 40 minutes. I can't believe we're at 40. Well, I guess we started before you got in too. But I did have a couple more clips that are interesting. So let's go ahead and roll this one real quick.
Go ahead, yeah.
The media kind of coined this term body dysmorphia, and while as a clinician and someone who has it, I'm so great to hear that this word is out there. It's often misconstrued. When I look at body dysmorphia, I feel like it's a watered down term of what BDD truly is. Body dysmorphic disorder is a very severe psychiatric disorder where a person has a perception about their appearance where they see a defect or undesirable part of their body, often neck up, that to an outsider doesn't see it at all. But to the person suffering from it, they see it as awful, defective, disgusting, and prevents them from functioning in day-to-day life. I developed BDD in my late teens, but was not diagnosed until I was 22 years old. When I was in elementary school, middle school, I was bullied based on the fact that I had curly hair. And I never realized it until later that that actually was the precursor for my body dysmorphic disorder, because I felt that because of the way I looked, I wasn't good enough. And so as I got older, it transferred to my skin on my face, and I felt that anytime I had any imperfection, any acne or anything on my face, I felt like I should not go out in public. I actually had it really develop bad when I was 20 years old, and I missed a semester in college because I couldn't leave my house for a month. And at that point, I didn't know what I had. I just thought that I was ugly and defective. And then it wasn't until a year and a half that I got the actual psychiatric diagnosis of body dysmorphic disorder and started to get the treatment for it. For a person that truly suffers from the diagnosis body dysmorphic disorder, they can feel minimized and feel like other people don't truly understand what this is, because I've heard so many people say, but everybody has body dysmorphia. And when I think about my own struggles, I don't think everyone just sits in a house for a month. I don't think people would have as many medical leaves. I've had 3 to 4 medical leaves my entire life because I couldn't function optimally because I couldn't leave my house. And so I think it's important to have this message out there. I think the same way that we say it's just OCD, I think body dysmorphia is more of an adjective and it's not the actual diagnosis. So there is this differentiation between the two. And that's part of the reason that I like to speak, because I want people to understand that I've had this disorder. I have taken medical leaves. I have been at the floor of my bathroom crying, thinking, I can't do this anymore. How am I going to make it through? And I've picked myself up. I've gone through the right treatment. I've gotten the right support. And I want to continue to give back to the community that gave me my life back. And so I want people to know that they're not alone and that they can get better and live a true full life.
Yeah, that was nice.
It's funny because I've never had those. I've had those moments where I've been crying on the floor, but I've never had it where I've been unable to leave the house.
She says she was unable to leave the house for a month.
Yeah, I mean, I never got at that point, but to me, I never had the ability to be able to just do that.
Well, you know, and it also shows.
I never had the ability of it.
It also shows that, you know, everything's on a spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, just because somebody deals with something doesn't mean that they deal with it in the same way that another person does. The one thing that really caught my attention on there, it was obviously a lot of things that caught my attention. One of the bigger things that stuck out was it said it affects as many as 1 in 50 Americans.
It's actually a more common disorder than, it's actually a more common disorder than most people realize. It's a very common disorder. I think there are variants of it, varying degrees of it.
Well, that's what I was talking about with the spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be people that, not obviously not 1 in 50 people, are just taking a month off from work because they can't, stand away, look the way they look.
Yeah. And that's, it's really interesting. And there are some men who have it. I've seen some men have it, but I've seen a lot of more often it's women who have it, which is really interesting. It's a very interesting.
And I did see that I didn't see when I was looking at the facts for this. Typically with a lot of things, it will say if something is more prevalent with men or women, but it didn't say that with this.
That's interesting. I mean, no, men do have it. I know men do have it. And people, it's funny because people who do have it, they also, like, plastic surgery is another thing that people do as a way to try to fix it, but it just gets worse.
Exactly.
I've actually heard that people, famous people who have the compulsion to do plastic surgery over and over again, they also suffer from it and they just don't talk about that. And they have to, they actually, one of the treatments is literally looking into a mirror of people who deal with both of these things, because it can manifest into a disorder. I can't remember what the name of it is now, but it's, the surgeries to try to fix it, but it's really what they need to do is fix the body dysmorphia. People like Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson is a great example.
There was a lot of people who had all of that, but it was like the way to treat it actually is see a distorted mirror of yourself, like an actual mirror that's been distorted, so you can see. So it helps to, for some reason, it helps to mentally, it's a cognition therapy. I don't know exactly how it works, but it is something that is helping to fix how you view yourself. It's for me, as I said, the things that I take to deal with the body dysmorphia, they're not to that extreme, because I think part of it is I caught it not pretty early, but I had an awareness that it was happening.
Right.
What it was, so I took steps so it didn't get worse.
And I think too with men, maybe it's possible. And again, I don't know because I don't deal with this. I'm thinking that a lot of men may be able to deal with it simply by going to the gym, right? Like, oh, I need bigger muscles, or I need to have, I need to have a 6-pack or whatever. And so they deal with their body
Yes.
dysmorphia, and it's more socially acceptable, right? That is what kind of scares me about this, and what I think is kind of unfortunate, right? Is that some of the fixes for this, you don't even need to. I think people should have therapy first, and then, get cosmetic surgeries if they feel that that's what they need or want to do. But it's so easy to go get surgery, or take a bunch of steroids and then hit the gym without any consultation from anybody.
Yeah, and
Enough
it's
money, a
weird.
surgeon will take it, right?
Yes, and actually, it's so interesting how much offhanded comments affect somebody who has it. Plus, I have RSD too, because as a part of my stupid ADHD. But so it's a rejection sensitivity disorder, which is a symptom of the ADHD. So it's on top of the body dysmorphia. So when someone says an offhanded comment,
Right.
it really affects me, which is such a weird thing that should happen. Like someone saying, "Oh, like you look different than the last time I saw you," or you've gotten older, or just certain things that are, that should not be like, they're not insulting.
Right.
Hit me triple hard as somebody with BDD. It's very interesting. Like the littlest thing, the littlest comment on my appearance screws me up. Now
Wow.
I'm obsessing about it for no reason. If it's a negative comment, I start obsessing about it. It's really bad.
Right.
Like really, really bad. It's something that's and people don't understand. They're like, I don't get it. Why are you still dwelling on this? And it's like, I can't stop the intrusive thoughts. It's not something you think I want to be obsessing about this?
Right.
It's like, I've got better things to do with my time than obsess about this offhanded comment you made last week. Stupid
Right.
weasels.
But I mean, that's part of it, right? That's the obsessive compulsive part. So we do have we got about 13 minutes. We do have one more video clip. This video clip, thankfully, we can end on ways that can help, maybe things that you can do if this is something you are suffering from. So hopefully this will be a good little clip, and then we'll come back from that. We'll kind of wrap it up with our final thoughts, and here we go.
First thing, obviously, was talking to a professional and getting into cognitive behavioral therapy. This is a type of therapy that helps you manage problems by changing how you think and behave. And I won't go too much into that. I'll leave a link, though, down below, all about CBT, and it is amazing. I hugely recommend it to any of you guys who are struggling with this. The second thing I did is seek out positive role models. So like celebrities and YouTubers who are self-accepting. I stopped following all the people I used to follow who place this huge emphasis on looking a certain way. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of, fitness gurus or whatever that I love to follow along with, but they very much talk about it from a health perspective and feeling good. It's never about, fitting into society's little cookie cutter image. And that's so important to be able to distinguish the difference. I looked for women, and I look up to women who embrace their body just as it is, stretch marks and all. There's a huge body positivity movement online. You see Instagram accounts like Body Posy Panda, and there's a lot of women on YouTube as well that I just love, and I wanted to become one of them, and I feel like I have. I feel like I've gotten to that place now where I love myself enough that I can kind of talk about how great I am sometimes, because I do. I like who I am. I really like the person that I am, and I don't hate my body anymore. Two other things are joining support groups, or like having a supportive group of friends, or joining a supportive forum for people who also struggle with BDD, and then also changing your environment and your social media environment. So like becoming a smarter consumer of social media. And that is tough because we can't really control everything we'll see in our timelines, but we can control who we follow, who we mute, who we block, who we shove out of our lives. If you have someone in your life that makes you feel terrible about how you look, like they keep pointing out something about your physical appearance, and making you feel less valuable as a human based on that one thing or those several things, you need to snippety snip them out of your life. Thumbs up if you want me to do a video about getting rid of fake friends and assholes.
Some sage words of advice there. I liked how, by the way, really quickly, what's up to distance nerding in the house?
Hey, Deanne. Hey, guys.
What's up, Matt? If DN is Matt, I'm wearing my. Thank you. I got my shirt tonight.
Oh, it's Matt. Hi, Matt.
Is it Matt?
I don't know if it's Matt. I'm not sure if it's. I'm not sure if it's Dampy or not. He has not said. But yeah. Dampy, if it's you, if it's Phil, hey, if it's James. What's up, James?
Yeah. So one of the things that she talked about was getting role models that were more like when she would watch health and fitness videos, they were more talking about getting healthy for the sake of being healthy and not to fit into the latest trend or to look a certain way or to be hot or whatever. It was more about the health aspects.
Yeah, which is good. It's one of those things you have to look at those positive role models and be like, I don't care. Like, I mean, of like, I don't care what other people think of. I want to live up to these things that I have in a healthy way. I want to go about this in a healthy way. I'm okay with who I am. I'm happy with who I am. I love who I am. And it's really, really important not to look at those things from a body appearance. That's one thing to really be like, I shouldn't look at things, my self-worth on how I look.
Right.
Like, because that's going to constantly change anyways. It still will affect me from time to time, but it's I have to look at things that I'm good at despite it.
Right. You have to look at things that you offer that have nothing to do with your body or the way you look or, the fact that you're a talented musician or a singer or, or a swords person busting people's glasses.
Sorry, Aaron.
You have so many things to offer. You're an incredible host. You host multiple shows on our channel with multiple different people, so you're easy to get along with. You have a lot of other things to offer that have nothing to do with how your face or your makeup or hair or whatever else is.
What makeup? I'm not wearing any makeup today. Because you could tell I'm not wearing anything today. So yeah.
So is there any as we're getting ready to go out here, is there any words of wisdom that you would offer to other people? Are there things that maybe have helped you a little bit?
That you're not alone, that this is a treatable disease.
Obviously, 1 in 50
it's a
people
disorder. It's a treatable disorder. You're not alone. It does get better as long as you actively find positive ways to change it. And look for healthy activities to do for yourself that don't compromise your appearance. I also really try to take care of my skin really well. It's one way I also combat it. So being proactive is a really, really important thing to do. I think getting people to understand that you're not just being vain or obsessive about that it's not something you're controlling. Just talking about it's really important, because once I started talking about it, what was going on, it actually helped it a lot. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Just kidding. No, but yeah, these are things that really help me. Also, just having your friends understand that, hey, like, I'm not trying to fish for compliments, but they do feel good and they do help me, so I don't feel like I'm crazy. When I start having the negative talk, it helps to have someone go, no, this isn't real. The negative talk, and having the positive talks, like, yes, positive talk, positive reinforcement really helps me to know that I am, one, that I'm not crazy. It's not like necessarily like being crazy. It's more of like changing the way that people view my body and how I view my body. It's just a way of helping. Does that make sense?
Right, and really quickly, I was thinking, I have this. There's
You're
a
welcome,
statistic
John.
that says most people know 300 people on a first name basis, right? That means that there's at least what five times six of those people are dealing with this. If 1 in 50 Americans deal with this, that means that 6 people on a first name basis that are dealing with this. So
Yep.
when you're saying don't feel like you're alone, you are literally not alone. You can pick up the phone and you know 6 other people that you could probably call that are dealing with it as well.
Yes.
So get guidance, get help where you can. I know it's not always easy or accessible to everybody. I know we have different resource
one of my
levels.
friends, one of my friends who modeled, who was this big, he's this big, beautiful Australian actor that I know, and he says he struggles with it. So it's and it just comes in many forms. When somebody tells you that they look at themselves a certain way, believe them. That's really because they're not just being vain a lot of times. I mean, there are some people who can be narcissistic, but that's a completely different disorder. This is not from narcissism.
Right. This is the exact opposite of narcissism.
This is when we tell ourselves that we aren't pretty, that we look old, that we look ugly, that we look fat, that's literally these things that we hear all the time and that we see in the mirror. And that's really hard to fight sometimes. So it's really good to have that ability to combat that with people you love, because that does get worse if it's not combated.
Right. And quickly, I did want to remind people, we are Aubrey, myself, or the boy Wonder down there are not medical professionals. And these are some every topic that we bring up every week are just topics of interest, and we try to shed some light. By no means do we feel like we're giving you the whole story. This is just enough to get you interested, that if you want to learn more, you're going to go out and do your own research about it.
And what's great about talking about this is that you can also, in a way, really get to know and to, if you may think you have something or you don't, and you're looking at this, it's check box for things like, it kind of hits me like we were talking about dissociative disorder, and it was like, oh, I have dissociation at times, but I don't have like the dissociative disorder.
Right.
Even though because I've had a lot of childhood trauma, I don't have the disorder. But it was really good because I'd wondered about that, and going through those, I'm like, oh, I don't think I actually have that. So it's really good to go through these things so you can be like, oh, maybe I should get that checked out or not.
Right. And again, and do further research for yourself. Maybe this is something that maybe you've not just body dysmorphic disorder, but any of the topics that we've talked about. And we've talked about such a wide range of different things. We don't stay pigeonholed into one little topic. We go all over the body. From brains to toes.
Love that.
But Jesus, I lost my train of thought. We go all over, so you can see that that a lot of these things that we are dealing with, sometimes you may see some of the symptoms and it's not something you're thinking about for yourself, but maybe it's a close relative. You're like, oh wow, that reminds me a lot of Uncle George, or you know what I mean?
Yes, it's not just for yourself, you can do it for other people. By the way, I am feeling a lot more comfortable because we are past the triggering. We're past the triggering stuff. That was really triggering.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's not. I mean, I knew we were going into this when I came in. I do feel more comfortable. It's something. The thing is I've been dealing, with it openly for a while, so it's easier for me to explain to people. Yes, I have BDD,
right.
And this is, something I fight with, and I just need you guys to know that this is what it is. This is what happens. So it's like, that's kind of that whole thing. It's just about understanding. It's like, no, I'm not ill in the way that you think I'm ill. It's not like mental health doesn't mean you have to be, incarcerated or you take pills or anything like that. It's just not like, I'm not I'm getting better. That's
Right.
kind of the thing. It's like I understand this is what I have. This is how, so I can combat it.
Right. Right. And we're all on our journey. We're all on our own our own path. So
Mhm.
I'm dealing with honestly, that was exactly the reason John and I started this show, was because we were talking about the pandemic and how it kind of
Mhm.
messed with a bunch of people, and nobody seemed like they wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted, everybody. It was like this huge, heavy elephant that was in the room that everybody could see, but nobody wanted to talk about.
Yep.
And we were all silently kind of dealing with it in our own separate ways. I know I've had some health issues, anxiety, that I didn't have before, and so we started this just as a way to kind of like bring light to disabilities, to show that we are all struggling with something in one way or another. So let's just be kind to each other. We don't know what
Mhm.
everybody else is dealing with. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really thankful that I got to that I have been able to fill in for John, and that I've been able to that he's let me help come in and step and help. So thank you, John.
Yeah, well,
Um,
thank you, Aubrey. We
I,
appreciate having you here. I think you've definitely brought a different light and a different angle. And just like I do on KCAD and my other shows, I
Mhm.
like to have I like to bounce with men and women, different
Yeah.
ethnic backgrounds, different because everybody has different experiences, and I bring my own set of experiences to the table. Boy Wonder brings his own set of experiences, and
Hmm.
you bring your own. So it's been really refreshing, because it's usually it's three dudes up here. So it was
Yeah. If you want me on any time, when John comes back, like
a,
I'm happy to be a part of that.
yeah,
So
well, I don't know where John's at yet. I don't know if he's quite ready to come back, so we're gonna need you for a little while longer at least.
yeah. So
But I do appreciate you. I appreciate all you brought to the
I appreciate
table,
that.
all of the information that you've been able to enlighten with us. And the other thing about the show is that John and I both acknowledged when we made this show that there were probably going to be some uncomfortable shows, because
Yes.
we are going to hit on topics that deal with us directly. And there's been a couple of times, particularly on this show, where I've kind of talked about my personal life, which you don't really see me talking about my personal life on any of the other
I
shows.
don't. Yeah. I
Um,
don't.
and this show is just a little bit different in our lineup. You know what I mean? It's first off, we don't. This is one of the only show. This show is one of the few shows that doesn't get monetized, and I don't think we'll ever be able to be monetized. But
But
that's
it's funny
okay.
because this is where most of the work actually. I've done more work on this show in certain ways than I have in the other one, so it's very interesting.
All
Which I don't
right.
mind doing it. It's a passion. I mean, it's a passion project. Besides, I've always been really interested in abnormal psychology. Which I don't know why they call it that, but mental disorder and
Right.
different topics like that because I find it fascinating. Maybe just to help with me understand my own neuroses, but
Right.
it's
And the
that's what
crazy
they
people
say.
around us.
Well, when you get called crazy, it's kind of that thing
I
that happens.
definitely I feel like this show again, it's the one show, and I think our lineup that's different. It's not a gaming show, it's not a talk show, it's not about cosplay or anything. It's the one serious show, I guess, that we kind of have on our
Mhm.
lineup. But
And
it is,
Robin, thank you so much also, by the way,
yes.
for doing your
Yeah.
the signing. You're
Well,
welcome.
uh,
Yeah.
This is kind of a passion project. I think it's something that we kind of felt was we both felt was important, and we just enjoy doing. And yeah, we put in a little more work for this show than others, but it is. I think it helps the format a lot too when people can
It
see
does.
videos, and I think it helps them
Mhm.
understand what we're talking about, especially when some of these topics are so they're really dense. You know what I mean? There's a lot
Yep.
to understand about different medical challenges
Robin is
people might
awesome.
have.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot here. I not only is it really interesting, but I think it's so helpful for people to understand that they're not alone. And as I said, finding out all the different aspects of them, it really helps with you're like, hey, I may have, maybe someone who doesn't know that they have these look at this and be like, oh shit, I'm experiencing all of these things. Maybe I
Right.
should go to a professional to get it get it looked at.
Right.
That is something that's super important because there are people that live with these and think that they're alone, or they think they're crazy or going crazy, and they just don't know.
Right. They just deal with it.
And they think, hey, I just need to deal with this by my own, and you don't have to. And that's what's really wonderful about this.
Right. All right. We're going to wrap up there. I want to remind everybody that right now, for the rest of this month, we do have 20% off on our website at kybercave.com. We are actually doing a promotion to help our friend Jon raise money for a wheelchair. And we're over $2,000. I don't know exactly where we are. We'll kind of do the tally when the 2 months are done. But I know we're well over $2,000 in for Jon there. And we hope to collect more. So there's a link to the GoFundMe if you would like to spread the word, or if you can help out with the contribution yourself, that would be very much appreciated. Or head over to kybercave.com, pick up any product, get 20% off right now, and 20% more goes to Mr. Jon's wheelchair.
There's a saber called the Captain you should get.
You know, Graveyard actually bought the Graveyard.
You what?
Graveyard bought the Graveyard.
I know. I was telling when I saw that, I was telling Mr. Fours, I'm like, I want to get the Captain. I don't know which one the Captain is, but I want to get it.
So you know what it was? I had, like, me and Steven, we were going to a con, and we had just gotten this huge shipment of sabers in, and there was like 5 new sabers. And he was like, well, before I put these in the system, we can't sell them until they have a name. And I was like, I can't think of names right now. I was like, all right, I'm picking names of people of the crew. And everybody had a cool name. The only one I didn't get on there so far was Frey and David and, Mike, if we get them on there. But everybody had cool, like there was the Arcana, the Graveyard. And we're going to have a Boy Wonder in the lineup.
You're going to have the Boy Wonder in the lineup, yeah. Robin.
Anyways, all right, we're getting way off topic. All right, so just check out the website. We will be back here again next Tuesday at 5 p.m. With a different.
What is our topic? We haven't chosen that yet, have we?
We haven't really figured out what the topic will be. We'll figure it out no more. It's always something fun.
Jon, thank you for being here. You're here even into the comments, even if you're not here hosting. So thank you.
All right. See, you're here even when you're not here. But when you're ready to come back on this side, we are ready for you too, my friend. But as for right now, my name is Ark, and this is the Captain. And then, the next time we'll see you together is on this Friday night. But don't forget, we have live programming 7 days a week. 7 days a week, you can come to this channel. Mm-hmm. And we're a real little YouTube channel now. Woo!
Yay! And I will probably be there tomorrow with Mets doing a live show, doing gaming, and I will be there on Thursday.
Oh, you're going to actually be with her?
No. I mean, like on,
Oh, okay, on stream. Okay.
On stream. I know that Fours and I have stuff going on that we will be doing. Sure. So, I'm here I'll be there on Saturday. I'm there on Friday. I'm here all over the place. So
I'm here, I'm there, I'm
it's
everywhere.
kind of my other job in a way. So become that.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace. Bye, y'all.
Oh my gosh, where's the outro? There it is.